Hey guys, Bryson with Trick Tools here, and want to give you guys a look at the Roll-In EF1459 gravity feed vertical bandsaw. So this is a pretty unique saw in the capabilities that it gives you, because obviously it's a vertical saw, but you can also do similar cutting that you would do on a horizontal bandsaw. What I mean by that is it's a gravity feed saw. So if you notice, the base here is pretty long, and built into the base here is a rolling system to where the head of the saw here rolls back and forth, and it actually will use gravity to feed itself into the material. So if you're standing at the front of the saw and you push down on this lever, you can roll that back, and then when you let off, there's a hydraulic ram over here that you can adjust to slow down or speed up the feed of the saw. If you want to get it closer to material, you can speed it up. Obviously, as you're going through, you can figure out what speed is right for cutting through the material that you're working with. So it's a pretty unique capability on this saw, is to be able to do that type of cutting. You have the vise here, which can miter up to 45 degrees in both directions. So you can swing this around, you loosen up the bolt here, swing this around. There's a little indicator on the top here that you can mark whatever angle that you need to cut both directions, and get your material clamped in place. So it's a nice precision ground flat tabletop on here, and it gives the ability to be able to make really precise cuts. And then if you want to use it as a regular vertical bandsaw, all you have to do is remove the bolt here that holds this vise in place. You can pull this off the table, and then you have a nice flat top to be able to do your normal cutting. So you can, how you would do that is you bring the saw head in, get it set where it's bottomed out, and in order to, say you're excuse me, feeding the material through the saw, when you're pushing on here to keep the saw head from moving a little bit, as it's just on a roller system, there's a locking mechanism, kind of a stop, that's here on the side of the machine. So you would take this here, and this is going to be used for two different, I guess in two different ways. So this here, once you get the saw head where you need it to do your vertical cutting, you can move this stop here and place it right behind the head of the saw, and that's going to keep the saw from being able to move backwards. So in the same way, if you want to move the blade, let's say you're making cuts with the clamp and everything in place, and you only want to be able to you only want the blade to go so deep into the material, you're trying to make a notch cut, that sort of thing. You can, when you move the saw head out, when you find the spot that you want it, you can lock that in, and then you can put this stop on the frame here, get that clamped in, and then so this way, when you do have your vise on the table, say you're cutting a piece of plate and you only want to cut a couple inches deep into the plate, that sort of thing, you want to do some notching, you can set that up to where when you return this out, and as it cuts in, it's going to stop on the side there and only allow it to cut a certain depth into your material. So that's a pretty cool feature. So this saw has a 1 horsepower motor, and it is adjustable on the speed, so you need to change the belt around on the pulleys to achieve the different speeds. The speeds would be 70, 140, 270, and 525 feet per minute on the blade speed. So you can adjust that. You take the cover off the back and then adjust your belt around on there to achieve those different speeds. So you do have the ability to raise up and down the blade guide here. So there's a knob here on the back. You can raise that up and then tighten it in place if you want to do something that's taller. Then obviously As you get closer to the tabletop, you can bring this all the way down if you're trying to do some vertical cutting on some plate and that sort of thing. So these roller guides here and the machine, the way it's set up, allows you to have a blade that's from 3/4 of an inch wide all the way down to 1/4 inch wide. So you can fit a narrow blade on here that allows you to do some contour cutting and all that. And there is a chart here right on the front of the machine that's going to tell you, based on your blade widths, kind of about the radius you can achieve if you're trying to do some radius cutting on there. So when you do drop this down, there's a screw here. You can raise this up so you still have a shield protecting the front of the blade there. So yeah, so with that raised up, to show you guys here the inside of the machine, back that knob off there, and then you have to roll the saw head out. You can lock it in position. There's another cover on the front here. You remove that, and then the tensioner for the blade is right here at the top. So loosen that up, and you can pop the blade off, put the new one on from there. So go ahead and close this back up. There are a number of accessories available for this machine, and that's going to be everything from kind of a rip fence for the table. Gives you the ability to set it up and do vertical cutting in a way where you're cutting certain measurements off depending on where you set up that rip fence on the table. There's also a different style clamp vise on here that we have available. There's a mist cooling system available for this machine that's going to keep the blade cool if you're doing a lot of production cutting over and over and over. There's also a chip blower option available for it as well, and even some other options from there. So this saw is on rolling casters, which makes it real nice to be able to roll around your shop, to clean out underneath of it, all that sort of thing. So that makes it real nice. The saw does have some different power options as far as the motor. So this one specifically is set up to run on 110, but it's also available in 220 single phase and 3-phase, and then also 440. So depending on what your shop has and what your needs are, you can get the power supply that you need. So the throat depth on this EF1459, if you're cutting 90 degrees this way and you have something in the vise, the throat depth from the cutting to the back of the cutting area to here is 8.5 inches. And then you have 14.5 inches from the blade to the head of the machine here. So, but that's all going to depend on what you're cutting as far as where your capacities lie. If you're miter cutting, or if you're cutting off a small chunk, obviously you have a bunch of room behind the head here, as long as it's not sticking out so far. So because the head's at an angle, it gives you some different capabilities as far as what kind of cutting you can do in that way. So we'll go ahead with a demo cut here, show you guys how this machine works. So this Roll-In EF1459 is made right in Cleveland, Ohio, using all USA made components. So this is a super high quality machine. They've been making this saw for a very long time, so replacement parts are readily available if needed, any of the wear items, that sort of thing. So the biggest thing about this saw is that this is the original. There are some other gravity feed band saws out there that do look like this one, but they're all knockoffs of this machine. So this machine is the original, and being that it's made right here in the USA, it's a high quality machine, and really pictures and video do a hard time giving it justice. If you're interested in the Roll-In EF1459, give us a call or visit our website at Trick-Tools.com, and we can answer any questions you have. And thanks for watching this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos on high performance tools for the fabricator.